everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol Battle Report for the channel. Today we have a large 20 threat match for you between the Convocation and the A-Force on a table that is slightly more busy than the average Crisis Protocol table should be. It's going to be used for Batman quite soon, which is the reason, to be completely honest with you. But it does make for a little bit of a change of pace because last time it was a fairly sparse table, and so was the Asgardian one as well. Not that many people who can take advantage of the throwing stuff around anyway. The buildings are too large for anyone present to throw. I think the only exception would have been if Hulk was here as well, because then the Agents of Smash card could be used. But enough about that, let's actually look at who's taking part. So down in this dark alley outside the XXX bar is the Convocation affiliation. It's very fun to say as always. And one of the larger sized teams to feature on the channel, 6 minis. Being led by the Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Strange, aka War Criminal Doctor Strange, using the Bar with No Doors affiliation bonus for the Convocation, starting on the side, which means they can move 1 towards someone who actually damages them, essentially bumping the Knight for the Midnight Suns, but without having to pay the power cost, so pretty good, just in case it's forgotten to be mentioned. And he's being joined by Wong, over there, Clea, the Ancient One, Magic, and Hood. And their tactics cards today, come down here a little bit, there they are. Ironbound, Book of Shuma Gorath, Journey Through Limbo, Orb of Agamotto, Book of... these names. Cagalistro, or something similar to that, and Bane of Bambala. And there is 5 minis in the A-Force side, being led of course by the sensational She-Hulk. Looking forward to her Disney Plus series coming. She's joined by Miss Marvel over here, who'll be embiggening and punching people. Captain Marvel, of course. Valkyrie, and first time in a little while, Medusa, who does have an updated card from the card pack 2022. Their tactics cards, we come over here, are Fan Club, Stalwart Determination, Special Delivery, A-Force Assemble, and, sorry I had to move the camera to see the final one, Tactical Maneuvers. And here are the Crisis cards being played. The Extraction, 17 Threat, the Montesi Formula, that's the 3 books of course. You can only ever hold 1 book. If you're holding a book, it gives you access to 6 dice energy attack, beam 3, and you score 1 victory point for each one you're holding. Also, something has stained this card and I don't know what it is. Oh no. The threat level being played is the Secure, which is Superpowered Scoundrels from Sinister Syndicate. So it's the 5 ambush tokens on the map, 1 victory point for each one being held, and if you're contesting an ambush token, you get cover against people who attack you who are not contesting it, which just means 1 automatic defense success. So if we come back here real quick, the 3 books in a line, 1 there, 1 smack dab in the middle, and 1 over on the other side of the table there. And the 5 ambush tokens, 1, 2, 1 under the central book, over there for 4, and down there for 5. So, we'll get both sides set up and back at deployment. So we are all set up and good to go. The A-Force are to your right and did win first activation, although they will have a pass to start with if they want to. The Convocation are to your left. Did I say the A-Force were to the left? Because I meant right. Either way, the A-Force are set up over here. Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and over the other side of this building up here, we have Medusa and Valkyrie. And then for the Convocation over here, we have Clea and Hood down here. Sorcerer Supreme himself is up here, obviously wanting to grab that book. And then Magic, Wong, and the Ancient One, having just spent some time in the XXX Club, they've come outside and are moving up that flank of the table. So with that, we can jump into Battle Round 1 and see how things play out. So the A-Force did in fact pass to get the game started. So the Convocation activated, went with Wong. He meditated to give himself 1 extra power, and then moved up his medium move in order to take control of the ambush token closest to the Convocation's deployment side. So the first activation for the A-Force was Valkyrie. She medium moved twice from where she was up there next to Medusa in order to get into the middle and spend 1 of her 2 power from being an Asgardian to snatch up the central book, as well as holding that middle point there as well. So in retaliation to that, the Sorcerer Supreme activated, moved up medium, paid 1 power of his 3, because he gets 2 extra in the power phase, to pick up the book there, then spent 1 on range 5 Deadly Daggers of Daggeroth, I believe it's called. He gets to pick what element they are, physical, energy or mystic. He fired them at Valkyrie. She was getting cover because of the ambush token she is holding, so 1 automatic success in terms of defense. And the attack roll, even though the Eye of Agamotto was used to give a full reroll, and he's allowed to modify skull results, it turned a 1 success into 2, which she easily blocked without even needing the objective. Miss Marvel activated and used both actions for movement just to position herself very particularly there, holding the closest ambush token and trying to position herself such that pushes or anything won't send her too far away from the objective. And it was pretty much a snap activation for Hood after that for the Convocation. He also just spent both actions on moving to position himself to hold the closest ambush token from the superpowered syndicate. And he's been a bit more aggressive though, deploying on the closest side to the enemy, hoping to get some range 3 attacks next turn. The Inhuman Medusa activated and also just claimed the closest ambush token. Right now, as things stand, the A-Force hold more, but there's still one book in play that hasn't been picked up yet, and there's still enough Convocation to go that could change. Clea activated and decided to leave the holding of objectives to Hood and instead moved past the objective and is gunning for Valkyrie in the middle there, holding that book that they very much want. So second last activation for A-Force was Captain Marvel. She moved up medium, which did put her within range 4 of Clea, so she fired an energy blast at her. 4 dice energy only, but it does have full rerolls on it, and did quite well, all said and done. Managed to do 3 damage to her, which is pretty nasty. She only generates a flat 1 power for herself for doing that, whereas Clea's obviously getting the 3, but bit of nasty damage, and she opted not to take advantage of moving towards Captain Marvel for 1, because She-Hulk hasn't activated yet, so that didn't seem like a good idea. Second last activation for the Convocation was the Ancient One, who did start in this alley down here, but 2 medium moves have become over here was enough that she is now contesting the central ambush token that Valkyrie has. So it's currently a draw there, so no one is holding it, but She-Hulk could still probably get over there, and it's over to her for the final turn 1 activation for the A-Force. So the sensational She-Hulk moved up a little bit to the edge of the building, paid 1 of her 2 power, she gets an extra 1 to pick up the book there, the Montesi Formula book, and then moved medium, jumped off the building basically, and did go to contest the middle there. She's a medium move, unlike her cousin. And so Magic is the one who ends off the turn. She moved up twice, but has positioned herself such that she is just outside of range 3, which is the threat radius of Medusa over there. Because A-Force are getting first turn, she didn't want to just be an easy target, because Medusa can do some nasty stuff. So she stayed out of range of there, she's just helping Wong hold that to end off the turn. And with that, we're over to scoring. So then, at Battle Round 1, we are poised for a big old fight to break out in turn 2, looking forward to it starting, but let's cover the scoring first. The A-Force have 2 of the 3 Montesi Formula books for 2 victory points, and they hold 3 of the 5 ambush tokens. There is a lot of points on offer, that's 8 victory points possible a turn. They're holding this one down here thanks to Miss Marvel, She-Hulk and Valkyrie teaming up to hold that one, and Medusa holding that one. So that does take them to 5, and the Convocation have the other book for 1 victory point, and they hold their back closest to ambush tokens, this one down here with Hood, and that one up there with Magic and Wong. So they're trailing by 2, A-Force have first activation again, as we go into Battle Round 2. So as we get started with Battle Round 2, in the Power Phase, Ironbound Book of Shuma Gorath is being played by the Convocation. A Convocation character can spend 2 during the Power Phase. Wong coughed up the 2 power required. This round, when an enemy targets an allied character with a physical attack, you can choose to make it a mystic attack. When an allied character is KO'd after the effect is resolved, this card comes back into their hand. So this is their chance to deal a lot of damage using their good defense before they have to use their bad defense, which is physical in basically every case. Well, perhaps surprising no one, it was She-Hulk who got the turn started for the A-Force, and she went all out. She started by just doing her basic free sensational uppercut 7 dice physical onto the Ancient One. Now she was using her Mystic Defense and she gets rerolls and also counts blanks as successes because of Martial Artist if within range 2. All of that didn't make a blind bit of difference. She took 5 damage, leaving her on 1 health, so She-Hulk paid 3 to pick her up and throw her at Clea. The 1 damage automatically knocked out the Ancient One. Clea took 2 damage and was also dazed. So She-Hulk got a double daze. Now after that first attack against the Ancient One, or rather at the point at which she was targeted, Ancient One paid for Winds of Watum, I think it's called, 3 power, which is pretty expensive, but you pull the target small towards you. So She-Hulk had been moved roughly to here, which in hindsight is not a good idea. It was to get her close enough that she'd get barraged by everybody, but she still had an action left after all that, because she only did 1 attack and then her throw is a superpower. She moved medium over here to menacingly stare down Wong and Magic. She's not close enough to be contesting that, worth pointing out, but she did a lot of work. Well, all of a sudden, Convocation are a little short on activations, but they did decide to activate. They went with magic, and you'll notice that there is no longer a She-Hulk there. That's because she took a journey through Limbo, but we'll get to that in a second. Started by magic activating. She used her Soul Sword, range to 6 dice Mystic, I want to say, or maybe 4 dice. It was more than her basic attack, which is bigger range. The important part is, though, that it's Mystic and has Pierce. Used that on She-Hulk, hit her for 3 damage, which gave her enough power to then use Journey Through Limbo. She pays 3, you pick a target, character within 2, place them within 3, and again Incinerate. She teleported She-Hulk up onto the roof up here, so there's the 3 damage from the actual Soul Sword attack she did. The Incinerate for journeying through Limbo, and now she's Steven's problem. He can hopefully handle her now that she's rolling less defense dice. For her other actual action, she used her ranged attack, which I think is like Energy Sword. I'm going to come over here and see what it's called, because I forgot. It is Bolts of Oster, something like that, and it was 5 dice Mystic for the Soul Sword. Either way, she used that energy attack. It generates her 1 power regardless of what happens on Medusa, who fully blocked it, and she had cover from the objective as well. So Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, activated. She moved medium to where you can see her there. Then she did a basic 5 dice physical strike on Hood, who doesn't really have that great Mystic defense either on his human side. So that was just 3 dice. Got him for 2 damage though, not that great. And as a result, selected that he turn into the possessed form. Now this possessed form doesn't actually state how the possessed form is placed, whether or not it's like a transformation so you can place it within 1, or if it's literally exactly where Hood is. That's probably been cleared up somewhere. If it has, by all means point it out in the comments, because it's a little vague. Either way though, the reason he's not standing where he should be is because she then spent 3 power to pick him up and throw him. Now if she threw him into anything, it wouldn't do any damage, because his possessed form, which he has become, reduces damage by 2 to a minimum of 1. Well actually she should have done 1 damage, I guess, then, if it's to a minimum. I think it must have a minimum. But instead she chucked him far away just to force him to move in to try and do anything. So he is still in possessed form. That's the 2 damage from the strike prior to him turning into a possessed form, and she chucked him away. She isn't holding that objective. Now no one is. That might force Doctor Strange's hand. We'll have to see. Well, from where he was up here on the roof, Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Strange tried to use Baleful Bolts of Balthak, 5 dice Mystic with Pierce on Wilds, on She-Hulk. She was rolling 1 less defense dice, so she was only rolling 2, but she rolled very well in the attack roll. It was good enough going in without doing a full reroll, but all said and done, did nothing to her. So then he moved medium for his other move, down to where you can see him, so he is holding that point currently. Then he spent 4 on the Scalpel of Strange to select Captain Marvel and teleport her via a portal within 3, just to put her all the way back there so that she's not doing any harm for now. Miss Marvel activated and started with a very tiny move just to put her on the closer side of that objective there, such that her range 4 Morphle Punch could reach the Sorcerer Supreme. Only 4 dice physical, 3 of them were crits in the initial roll, so even though he's got good defense against energy and mystic, and he was using his mystic defense for this attack because it's physical and the Ironbound book makes him be able to do that, the initial roll was so good, 2 damage still managed to get through, which was pretty not unsurprising, the exact opposite. It was pretty surprising to be able to get through that and his Armour of Strange, which converts successes to failures for wilds. Hood activated. That's the second last activation for Convocation already. He moved medium, then he paid 2 for a charge, so another medium move followed by an attack, which put him there. He did his 6 dice basic attack, which is Razor Talons when he's possessed, and it does bleed on a wild, but there was no wild sadly. And if he had managed to successfully daze or KO his target, which in this case was a Valkyrie, he would have been forcibly turned back into normal Hood form. He didn't though. All said and done, he only did 2 damage to her, but that's kind of a good thing, because that means he's sitting on that point contesting it, and he's still got that lovely passive of reducing damage received by 2 to a minimum of 1, so it might keep him in there. So Valkyrie was sitting on 5 power, which gave her enough to do a Warrior of Legend and then Dragon Fang on top of that, so for any crit and wild in the roll she could change a blank or a shield to a hit. On poor Hood, managed to do 5 damage, which regrettably even reduced down to 3 with that passive that was mentioned just before. With the 2 damage that was already on him, it's still enough that he's dazed. Now because it wasn't a mystic attack, he doesn't revert forms, So he is still in possessed form, but he is dazed as well. So the Convocation are just dropping like flies. It's over to Wong to end off their turn. Well, with Magic still holding that back ambush token, Wong had a little choice. He medium moved twice for his turn, and then awkwardly somewhat is now sitting himself on that middle ambush token, so that Valkyrie and he are still just contesting it. Now, it's over to Medusa to end off the turn. She's probably going to stay where she is, but if she moves forward, she will be able to do some long range 3 attacks, or one range 3 attack on Magic. So Medusa did move to a closer side. She tried to do her Braid Bash range 3, and the A-Force had their first horrific roll of the game. There was one success in there, so no flurry, no nothing, and it was easily blocked. So that was a very quick round 2, but we're already at scoring. So on a turn in which the Ironbound Book of Shimagorath was used, that was not the expected result at the end of battle round 2 to see 3 of the Convocation's 6 be dazed, and they're flipping over their cards already. But She-Hulk did great work. They had a lot of dice rolls go in their favour, and the Convocation just did not. That said though, let's currently go over the current points rather. The Convocation still hold one of the books for 1 victory point. Magic holds the ambush token up there, and Stephen Strange holds the one down here. So they gained a total of 3, taking them up to 6. They also have first activation in the next round. The A-Force have the other 2 Montesi formulas for 2 victory points. Medusa is holding that ambush token. That one is a draw, and Miss Marvel is holding this one over here. So they gained 4, taking them up to 9. So they are pulling ahead pretty massively. But a lot of the Convocation have a lot of power to play with now, and they do have advantage. So let's see how things go in what will be a very violent turn 3. So as we start battle round 3, Stalwart Determination is being put into play by the A-Force. During the power phase, any number of allied A-Force characters can spend 1 to play this card. They all spent 1. Characters that spend power to play this card cannot be pushed or thrown by enemy effects this round. They are staying put. So the round actually got started by the Hood, which you will notice has reverted back to his human form, but not before he did empower the Dark Lightning. 8 dice Mystic on Valkyrie, just shooting her with a Thunderbolt directly into her face hole. Managed to do 5 damage to her. 4 would have been enough, and she is dazed. He then paid 1 to pick up the book that she dropped, and in doing that, the attack forces him to revert back to that form, which is why he has. Also, for every wild in the initial roll for that attack, you pick an enemy character within 3 of the target, and they take 2 damage. Now, unfortunately, the only target within 3 was Medusa, but she has taken 2 damage from the lightning arcing round the corner and shocking her in the back. Pretty good turn there for him. Oh, and did forget to mention, Hood does have another action. He's just going to stay where he is. He can't attack anyone from where he currently is. But if he retreats over there, Medusa's going to get him. If he retreats backwards, She-Hulk's going to get him. If he retreats sideways down here, Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel is going to get him. So he's just staying where he is, surrounded by friends. It seemed like the best bet to help control that objective as well. She-Hulk got the turn started for A4. She moved medium, jumped down off the building here behind Stephen, and then spent on her big attack. The defense rests. 9 dice physical, something like that, going up against his normal physical defense because the book is not in effect, and it wouldn't really have helped given how good her initial roll was. She ended up doing 6 damage to him. He already had 2 damage on him, so he is very dazed. Now, he dropped his book, but she's already holding a book, and you can't hold more than 1, so it has been placed within 2 right there. She considered picking up something to chuck it, but opted not to, just going to stay there, and is holding that back ambush token. Magic was up next for Convocation. She spent 4 power on her big attack, Dark Child. 6 dice Mystic, but she counts skulls in the attack and defense roll as her successes, along with the normal successes. Did it on Medusa, only managed to do 2 damage all said and done. It wasn't that great, but it does also do Bleed and Incinerate as standard. So she is slowly chipping away at that health of Medusa. That's 4 damage in total on her thanks to Hood as well. But for her other action, she then kind of backed off to the far away side of that ambush token there. Basically, so Medusa can't just do 2 attacks from where she is. She's going to have to move if she wants to, which will either mean she has to charge that objective and hope to take out Magic, who's at full health currently, or retreat. Well, Ms. Marvel leapt on the opportunity to snatch up the book that Doctor Strange dropped. She walked over, paid 1 power, picked it up, walked back. Slightly further back than before because now she wants to hold on to that book for defense. In case you're wondering why Clea or Ancient One didn't activate to go snatch it, The Convocation are so far behind in points, they're trying to do as much damage as possible and then just kind of hoping that the points make themselves up at the back end, because they have to start making a dent in the A-Force if they have any chance. Well, speaking of needing miracles, Wong activated, moved medium around the statue over to here, not getting close enough to be able to contest, unfortunately. He did his basic strike, the only attack he has, 4 dice physical on Medusa, who had 1 less defense die, but was getting that inhuman reroll on 1 defense dice as well. He only managed to do 1 to her. He is so close to being great. If she'd taken 2, she would have been dazed. Now that does mean she can't end her turn bleeding, or she will daze herself, so at least he's done something, but it would have been perfect if he was able to daze her. Captain Marvel activated, and with a little help from her friends, getting some bonus power from A-Force teammates getting hit, which hasn't been getting mentioned, but obviously has been getting done. She activated binary form to start her turn, for plus 2 dice to all attack and defense until she next activates. She moved to where you can see her, and then did her basic strike on Hood, and got him for a casual 6 damage, which means he is out of there, off the table. Now she isn't holding a book, and he did drop one, but she used all of her power, so it's just sitting right there. She's a healthy character though, and is contesting the middle. It's not looking good for the Convocation. The Ancient One activated and finally got a little bit of payback. She spent 2 on Mists of Hogarth, I think it's called, to be placed within 2. Then she spent 1 to pick up the book that was on the floor, dropped by the now deceased Hood. She then spent 4 on the Astral Strike, aka punching Captain Marvel in her soul. Managed to do 6 damage, which just took her from full health to 0. She is dazed, so now the Ancient One is the only one holding that middle, and has hopefully brought back the hope for the Convocation a little bit. Oh, and the Ancient One actually did have another action left, because using the Mists was not an action, it was a superpower. So she just moved ever so slightly just to get out of threat radius of Miss Marvel over here, and also to leave room for Clea to come in just in case they need to do that. So last activation for the A-Force was Medusa. She cleared her bleed with a shake action for her first thing to do. Then she did a Braid Bash on Wong, managed to get him for 2 damage, which is not enough to take him out, so then she spent on a Hair Flip to chuck him into the tree for an additional 1 damage, but that also does not take him out. He has 1 health left, but she is the only one holding that objective. So it's over to Clea to end off the turn. So it was down to Clea. She moved medium, then used Vapors of Dormammu to be placed within 2, which put her right smack dab there, and then she used Icy Talons of Icthalon, or whatever it's called, these names. 6 dice Mystic directly into Miss Marvel's face. Did not do that well with it, to be honest, but did manage to get 1 damage through all said and done, as well as slow and stun. Now she is contesting that ambush token. She's on her dazed side though, and Miss Marvel's on her healthy side, so Miss Marvel still controls it. But we can cover that in more detail as we go over the entire scores for the round. So at the end of battle round 3, despite coming back a little bit in terms of the fight, it's still looking bad for the Convocation. They had one of them on testing formula books again for 1 victory point. Magic is holding one of the ambush tokens, and the Ancient One is holding another, so they gained 3 in total, taking them to 9. But the A-Force, they still managed to hold on to 2 of the books, despite some books being dropped and changed hands and whatnot. They are holding this back ambush token because She-Hulk is on it and she took out Steven. Miss Marvel is still holding that one, as previously explained as well, so they gained 4 victory points. From that, 5, once you add on Medusa, still barely hanging on to hold that one as well, so that takes them to 14. It's basically impossible that the Convocation will catch them enough that the A-Force won't score 2 victory points this next turn, but they're gonna at least try. Although the A-Force also do a first activation, so let's see what happens. So as we begin the round, the Ironbound Book of Shimogorath is once again being played, thanks to it being back in hand when Hood was murderized. You just hear his voice on the wind whispering, "You're welcome!" And it was once again Wong who fronted the cost for it, because he's probably not long for this world. And sure enough, that's exactly how that went down. Medusa activated, she did a Braid Bash on Wong for 3 damage right there, which has dazed him of course, and then she moved to the far side of the ambush token there, just so Magic can't cheekily pick her off. Someone's going to have to go chase her if they want to get her. Well, step 1 in try and make something out of this for the Convocation has happened. Sorcerer Supreme activated and immediately used Scalpel of Strange on himself to move himself within 3 of his position. He then also spent 4 on Shining something of the Seraphim, Area 2 around him does not affect allies, in fact it can actually heal them depending on results, but the Ancient One isn't wounded on our day side so far. He only got Valkyrie for 1 damage. He got Captain Marvel though for 4, which was pretty decent, and using the Scalpel of Strange isn't an action, so then he just did his basic attack on her and got her for 2, so she is actually out of there, which is pretty nice. But they still need to do something about She-Hulk being healthy and holding a book and holding that objective. Now with Wong getting dazed, that's going to be very difficult, because Magic would need to get over there to contest that point. It might be possible if she can generate herself some power on the way. We'll have to work it out, because she can limbo step or use a tactics card. We'll have to see. Valkyrie activated for the A-Force, and it was a bit of a cowardly activation, but this is essentially just to secure the victory for them. She just retreated to help Medusa hold that point, so then if Medusa gets picked off by by Magic, Valkyrie is still holding the point, so that's another 1 victory point to have to try and negate in some way, along with the one Miss Marvel's trying to get as well, because she's healthy. So it's looking bad, let's put it that way. Well, Clea really needed to take out Miss Marvel. She spent all the power she had, 3 power, on her Icy Talons of Icthalon. They did 3 damage, which left her in total on 1 HP. She then just tried to do her basic attack, 4 dice Mystic, it's Claws of something or other. Doesn't matter though, because Miss Marvel fully blocked it on her 3 Mystic defense with her Inhuman reroll as well. So with her surviving, that's probably put the nail in the coffin, because if she'd been dazed, Clea would be holding that ambush point. She didn't have any power left to pick up the book. Oh no, she would have if the basic attack had taken her out, so she would have held the book as well. That would have at least put them on track to maybe save face. Probably not win, but save face. But no, Miss Marvel lived on 1. Well, despite being slowed and still on her healthy side, Miss Marvel, just rubbing salt into the wound, was like, hey Clea, you want that ambush token so bad? You can have it. It's just a little bit of charity. Using small movement, 1 for climbing and 2 because she is slowed, she moved up here and then just shuffled along here, just so that the Ancient One can't get her, because then that's basically securing 1 victory point. Valkyrie's doing the same, helping Medusa out. It's not likely that 17 damage is going to be done to She-Hulk, and Magic can't get her. Magic's sitting on 1 power. If she moved, she could have used the tactics card that teleports within 2 or 3, but it costs 3, so she can't even do that. And there's no one left over there to hit to perhaps generate power to make her move to roughly there, just to, you know, contest this, because Magic is still on her healthy side. That would have stopped them potentially. Like, they would have gained only 1 from She-Hulk having the book. Miss Marvel is now basically guaranteed it though, so we're going to go to the scoring there, because the Convocation can't stop them. They just have Magic and the Ancient One left. They can just sit where they are to get some save face points. So at the end of the game, for what was a very comfortable win, I think, for the A-Force, they kind of just ran away with it from an early stage. The Book of Sheogorath, or whatever it's called, sorry, is that Elder Scrolls? Shumagorath, not Sheogorath. Didn't really help as much against their very physical based attacks as had hoped. Like, that's basically Convocation's only defense against it, because most of them only have 2 physical defense. Hood's defenses are awful. He can do so much damage, and he is tanky on his possessed side, but his defenses are 2-2-3. It's really bad. But anyway, let's make this official. So the Convocation have 1 of the books to end off, and they hold that point, the one Magic is holding, and the pity one that Clea was given there for another 3, taking them up to a fairly respectable 13, to be honest, at the end of turn 4. But the book that Miss Marvel is holding and ran away with over there, the book that She-Hulk is holding, that 2 victory points alone is good enough to take them exactly to 16. She-Hulk is also holding this ambush point for 1 more, and Medusa and Valkyrie are holding the one up there for another 1 as well. So that actually puts them at 18. So a very comfortable win for the A-Force. So that is it for another battle report for Crisis Protocol on the channel. Sincerely hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, please do consider subscribing to see more in the future. It's played usually once a week, give or take. And if you especially want to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member, or pressing the thanks button, or take a look at Patreon as well. It is greatly appreciated if you do, and thank you to those who have in the past. With that said, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time for either more Crisis Protocol, or something else on the channel that catches your eye. Until then, ta-ta for now.